voices are coming in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Distorted Entertainment. Episode 0. Get some information out there before we get into the actual meat of things. My name is Ethan Carpenter. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm also joined by my good friend, Mitchell Wade. How's it going, my friend?
It's going all right. That's about it.
Is that it? That's all it's going. Well, I've been fighting to get this thing going for the past 6 months, and we're just gonna start with it's going.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. I can explain my end. Fine. I had the big sad for a long time. Still do, but it's fine now.
I feel that, bro.
I was stuck in a crappy apartment with, I think, an illegal daycare as my neighbor.
Pardon?
Screaming children 24 hours, 7 days a week. And then the couple downstairs fighting all the time. So recording probably wouldn't have been best.
Yeah, based on all that, maybe it's a good thing we waited until now when you move into a new house. So, all right, that's pretty cool, pretty good. I'm in my parents' house because after moving from my last apartment and getting kicked out of my band and all these other things, all of my other roommates were like, "Yeah, we're getting married." So I'm like back to my parents' house. But my brother actually just went. He just started college. He's going to law school, and so I don't have to worry about being
really.
Yeah, my second or my first brother rather is going to law school at IU, and that's exciting. I'm happy for him. He doesn't have any roommates, which is way better than what I did when I started at IUPUI. I had to start at I had 5 roommates, and 2 of which became dudes I do YouTube and Twitch stuff with and things of that nature. But now I don't have to worry about being loud at night because we share a wall, so I can just chill. We're keeping his room as a storage unit. I have a cello in there for some reason. I need to get it fixed.
Wow.
But yes,
a cello.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we went into his room and I was like, "Hey, Mom, why do we have a cello in here?" She's like, "No, we found it." I'm like, okay,
we found it.
we found. All right, sweet. I don't know. All right, cool, whatever.
Well, if you want, like, you can always go to my violin guy. He does cellos too.
Well, I don't think there's anything like particularly wrong with it. I think it needs new strings. One of the strings broke, which means the bridge that is on it is laying flat against there, and I figured when you restring it, it also supports the bridge to be up off the body. But
you're going to want to get that looked at because since it's a hollow instrument and it's basically just a large violin, there's this thing in the instrument called a sound post, and it is literally held there by tension from the bridge.
Oh, so if it doesn't have any tension on the bridge, it might mess things up.
Yeah, you might want to loosen those strings and let the bridge fall.
I mean, I took the strings off.
Cool.
Because as soon as I saw they were busted, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna take these off.
Yeah, because if the sound post isn't there and the bridge is like full force, it could literally go through the fucking instrument.
Oh, okay. I don't want that to happen. So, I'm gonna get that looked at maybe right after we record this. Anyway, guys, welcome to Distorted Entertainment. This is a new podcast that Mitch and I kind of thought up while we were both working at FedEx. We're both big fans of music, and I want to inject a little bit more than just music. That's why we have the entertainment part of things. I'm open to talking about movies, music, video games, things like that. But since we are both big music nerds, we want to have a heavy skew towards that. And the whole idea of this podcast is Mitch and I will be giving our opinions over various topics in the entertainment industry. Like I said, with a skew towards music, and the meat and potatoes of each episode we're looking at is give each other an album to listen to. Over the process of a couple of weeks, I think we're doing bi-weekly at this time. We'll each give each other a record to listen to. We'll listen to it, digest it, stew, and wallow in the music and things of all this nature, and then we will review it to each other and get mad when we don't like each other's albums.
especially me.
Yes. So we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit, but Mitch is a snob. That's fine. We're just going to start off there. And Mitch, why don't you give a little bit of background of yourself?
Ooh, okay. So my background is basically I'm a classically trained violinist. I started playing violin when I was 9, though I wanted to start playing when I was 5. My parents did not force me. So yeah, when approached my parents at 5, I was like, I want to play violin. And that kind of freaks people out when their 5-year-old approaches them instead of forcing it upon them. So
I mean, that's actually that's cool, dude. I think having the initiative when you're really young to start playing an instrument is definitely the way to do it. I remember, I think my dad wanted to learn how to play clarinet when he was young, and his parents weren't about it. They're like, no, you're not going to play the clarinet or something along those lines. I'm like,
you gotta be a real man.
You're gonna be a real man, and we're gonna lock our cousin in the barn because he can't read. I think that's a joke. I think that may have actually happened. I don't remember. I don't know any of my family.
But
yeah, I mean, that's really cool, dude.
Yeah, and so like I did orchestra in high school. I actually played at Carnegie Hall with my orchestra when I was a junior.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I played at the Ryman Auditorium, which was the old Grand Ole Opry, my senior year of high school.
Okay.
So I peaked at like 17, and everything's kind of been downhill since.
I feel that, man. I mean, it's kind of like a post the other day. It's like, why are millennials so sad? It's like, well, the happiest point of our lives was like the 20 days between Shrek coming out and then 9/11, and then it's just kind of been bad ever since.
Oh god, Shrek, the good old days.
Everyone is super pumped for Shrek 5.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Jesus.
I don't know if it is or not, but I apologize that I continue to interrupt you. Continue.
You're fine, dude. From there, like I did some Irish sessions trying to learn Irish fiddle. I picked up a mandolin in high school because it's a violin that you pluck. And at some point between the stage of my life where I was like, metal is dumb, long hair is dumb, piercings is dumb, tattoos are dumb, and anyone that gets them is a fucking idiot. I eventually got into metal, and basically how that happened was I was into pop punk. As in like, the 8th grader,
are we talking like Blink 182 pop punk?
My Chemical Romance, American Idiot, Green Day kind of era.
MCR's considered pop punk?
Look, man, I'm a snob of metal, not other genres. I couldn't fucking tell you.
You know what? Fair enough. I'm gonna look that up though. I thought they're like kind of a sub genre
or emo or something like that. Well, I'm sure that if we actually have a following, people are going to correct me very fast.
I mean, that's fine. Well, Wikipedia just calls them an American rock band. So
okay, my bad.
No, so when I was in the genres, alternative rock, emo. Okay, pop punk's in there. All right, I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
I thought I was supposed to be the snob, Ethan.
Well, I'm also kind of a snob, so this is going to be great. The difference is I'm a snob that if it's not slam, it's wrong. That's a joke.
And if it's not like fucking switching time signatures every 20 seconds, it's not even real music, man. That's me.
It's either that or if any song is below 20 minutes, like get out of here.
It's not even a fucking song. Let's talk about Mirror Reaper.
Look, we can talk about Mirror Reaper on a future episode. This is not the time. But yeah, Mitch. Do you remember what got you into like metal?
And that's actually where I was getting into. So my freshman year of high school, I did a music theory course, and it was an intro to music theory. It was poorly taught, and so it was super hard. And for some reason, all it surrounded was ear training. But there was a kid in there. His name, it was Ben. And basically he really freaking loved punk rock, and he really liked Green Day, but he liked old Green Day. And so he tried to get me into punk rock and like all that, which I'm not a huge fan of. But back then, I was trying, and I liked, Green Day's first album and like Dookie and everything. And I kind of was listening
to that record.
Oh, really? It's not a bad one. I kind of listened to metal already, but in my head, like I think a lot of people that don't listen to metal think metal is. I was listening to things like Nightwish and Black Sabbath and
okay, all right,
things that people in this like time who don't really know metal don't think as metal. I certainly wasn't thinking at that time.
Classic rock and things of that.
Yeah,
especially Sabbath
goth and stuff. Yeah. So, but he basically was like, "Oh man, Disturbed's really good," and I was like, "Wow, I trust Ben's taste in music," and so I went home and I listened to a couple of Disturbed songs from like Indestructible.
Which means you listened to every Disturbed song.
Yes, you're right. But I kind of was like, wow, this kind of hits different. This hits different. I like this. And so I got into Disturbed, and I was a huge Disturbed fanboy. Saw them in 2011 at Mayhem with Godsmack, who I was also really into. But basically, I did that thing that a lot of people did, which was you got into like a band or two, and then you kind of just went down the YouTube rabbit hole.
Of course.
And so over the years, I started getting into like heavier stuff like In Flames, Dark Tranquility, Insomnium. Then like I got into Lamb of God, and at one point I hit a core phase, and I was listening to like I Set to Kill, Trivium, which Trivium's like a weird kind of core. It's not the same core that I would always consider core.
I almost consider them like thrash core.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, especially like listening to Shogun. Like that doesn't have really any core elements, it feels like. But and so I just got heavier and heavier. My taste changed. Like I don't listen to Disturbed anymore. I think Godsmack is a piece of shit right now.
Right now, specifically.
Right now. I mean, I'll still like go back and like I'll listen to Believe by Disturbed. I'll listen to like a couple of Godsmack records that I liked. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to some like, wow, I really want to punch 14-year-old Mitch. That
I feel
that would have been a good time.
For me, when it comes to Godsmack, I was introduced to them via SmackDown versus Raw 2007, I believe. Great. Look, whether or not you like wrestling, so the earlier games had really good soundtracks, especially when it came to metal. But
I mean, it's like the song, Tony Hawk games.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I liked the song "The Enemy" by Godsmack. That's a good one. But recently, I discovered their cover of oh no, what is it? It's the Beatles.
Oh my god, they did a Beatles cover.
Come Together. They did a cover. Yeah. They did a cover, Come Together, and it's actually really, really good. So
I gotta hear this.
We can, we can listen to that in between episodes here.
Yeah, sounds good.
So,
but I'm pretty much done at this point. It's like now, like I'm really into like progressive metal. I try to get into some avant-garde stuff. Like it depends on the band. I like big, grandiose, complicated stuff. Like some of my favorite bands are Septic Flesh and Flesh God Apocalypse with that, grandiose symphony orchestra.
Symphonic death metal slaps, dude.
Yeah, and I like it when there's a lot of stuff going on, but it works well together. It doesn't sound like a wall of noise. But I also like exploring. So like, even though I'm really snobby about it, I'm mostly snobby about it because I know what I like. And I do have this background of like, I went and got my minor in music at IUPUI and took all the music theory courses that they offered.
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them. To be fair, like I talked to some Berkeley students and explained what I learned. They're like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all you need to know. At that point, it's just kind of discovery stuff.
Yeah, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars. Well, Mitch, if you to give some, I mean, obviously the whole thing we just went through is cool, but if you had to pick one band that you had to listen to, so I'll give you One band and one album. They don't necessarily have to be from the same, like the artist band album, but if you had to pick one band to listen to for the rest of your life and one album to listen to for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Oh, I don't like this question. This is a bad question. Shit. Fuck. If would I be able to still, in terms of the band, anything new they released?
Or well, okay, let me change it a little bit. If you had to recommend a band, like if somebody is brand new to metal or something like that,
I can do this.
And you're like, okay, here is one of my favorites. Here's one of my favorite albums. Here's one of my favorite bands. Go.
Honestly, Gojira is even though they're like my favorite band currently, Gojira is a good entry point. Like, if you start with like Magma, I mean, if you start with Magma is pretty easy listening. I love the album, but it's certainly not as heavy as like L'Enfant Sauvage or The Way of All Flesh or From Mars to Sirius.
I love From Mars to Sirius.
I mean, it's arguably their best album.
I love that album.
It's a great album. It's very well constructed. Personally, I really like L'Enfant Sauvage, but that was also the first concert I saw them.
So you're going with Gojira?
I would go with Gojira. In terms of a album, if I had to just listen, like not recommend one, but just listen, I would say probably we'll say Opeth's Blackwater Park.
Okay, yeah. Iced, it might be a sin to say, but I have not actually listened to a full Opeth record. I have listened to a lot of Watershed, and I really enjoy Watershed, especially when because I listened to it before. One of my friends, Damian Hyde, who is the singer for Perceive Persist, who I want to throw out thank you for letting us use their song Center of Gravity for our intro.
Yes, thank you very much
for the show. It's awesome. One of my favorite songs to come out of the indie scene in a while. It's very good, and it also features guitarist Bradley Denton. When I was a bit younger in my metal days, I was like, well, I hear a lot of good things about this band Opeth. What do people recommend? It's like, you should give Watershed a try. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was aware of it, and then you told me about the song Heir Apparent, and I love Heir Apparent.
Heir Apparent's a good one. I'm surprised he recommended Watershed, though, out of all of them.
I think he said that because he said that was his favorite record by them.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know if that's a good choice or not. I also tried on my own. I tried listening to, is their first record Orchid?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I tried listening to a little bit of that, and then I saw the first song was like 17 minutes long, and I bounced. I listened to some of it, and I was like, I need to listen to other stuff. But yeah, so yeah, Mitch, really cool introduction to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get in on this stuff?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting when you were talking about when you weren't really into metal. That reminded me of back in like. It had to have been 2007, 2006, something like that. When I was really, really young, there was a show in Indianapolis featuring a couple little known bands. Maybe you've heard of them. Maybe you haven't, at least both of them, called Disturbed and Slipknot.
I don't know about them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Disturbed. I don't know about Slipknot. They're a little lesser known. But I remember I was at my dad's house. I was staying up late because it was the weekend, and an ad popped up for Slipknot and Disturbed playing at Baker's.
I remember those fucking ads.
Yeah, and I was like, why is there so much satanic imagery in the world? So I grew up in a fairly religious household. I am not going to make any comments about religion or thereof. Just be chill to each other. And that, I grew up there. I was raised on country. I listened to country when I slept. When I slept. Note, we're recording this at 9:11 p.m. and I am exhausted and
never forget.
Never forget. I'm super tired. So if I flub, I apologize. I grew up listening to country or Christian music. and it was like that for a long time until I started watching wrestling. My uncle, who lives across the street, is big into rock and metal and things of that sort. So I heard some here and there, but he was also into wrestling, and they used to babysit me. So when I went over there, I started watching wrestling with Scott here and there, and the Undertaker and Kane and these really dark characters really spoke to me. So I started watching it. Current day, I started watching it live on TV, and that's where I was introduced to like Finger 11 with Kane's theme song Slow Chemical, really good track. Motorhead, Triple H's theme song The Game, and that's where I started getting into that, and I started playing the games, which had even more. So the first SmackDown versus Raw had a bunch of Power Man 5000 and Zebra Head, and not necessarily.
Oh my God, I forgot about Zebra Head.
Not necessarily metal, but something out of the wheelhouse of country, so
right.
Really catchy. You got into SVR 07 or SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. You had 3 Days Grace and Godsmack and Rise Against, a bunch of music that I wasn't used to, and I really started getting into that. So once I hit middle school, I got into no, hold on. What really broke it in was Guitar Hero.
I was about to mention like Guitar Hero 3 for me.
Yeah, exactly. Guitar Hero 3. And for me, I'm also kind of retreading stuff I said on Tune Junkies podcast, which is a podcast I did a couple months ago with some good friends of mine. So I'm trying to remember everything from that. And yes, Guitar Hero 3 really broke me into like Slipknot, Metallica, Disturbed, things of that sort. So once I hit middle school and high school, I got into like Slipknot, and because I was getting into my teen angst years, so I was really big into like the self-titled Slipknot record and Iowa, even though I kind of don't really like Iowa all that much anymore. Sorry people, maybe I'll discuss that in the future. But and of course my parents, my mom specifically was like, this isn't good, you shouldn't be listening to it, which made me want to listen to it even more. So I got into that, and then when I joined marching band, there was a guy there named Joey, who told me, have you ever heard of Christian death metal? And I'm like, what is that? Like, what is death metal? And by Christian death metal, he meant The Devil Wears Prada, because everything with screaming in it when you first start listening to metal is death metal. But at least I wasn't one of the people that called it screamo. I was never that kid. I was never ever that kid.
I'm pretty sure I was that kid, and I'm ashamed of it.
I am a lot. I'm not as angry about that anymore. Like, I used to get mad. I was like, it's not screamo, dude. But I'm like,
I mean, I get mad, but at this point, it's a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit, but it's more of an opportunity for me to teach people.
Right, exactly.
I was introduced to The Devil Wears Prada, and I even forgot that. Before Devil Wears Prada, I was playing like Saints Row 2, which had Lamb of God. So I was introduced to like that
Christian
heavier.
death metal.
Well, yes, I'm not really talking about Christian death metal. I'm talking about metal with more heavy vocals. Because Slipknot, Corey Taylor, he did a lot of screaming. But then when I heard Redneck by Lamb of God, I'm like, oh, what's this, dude? I dig it. And then I was shown Devil Wears Prada, which led to like August Burns Red, and which eventually I believe I was in Kentucky. My father and I went down there, and we stopped by we were in a mall, but there was a Hot Topic, so I went in there to check out the music, and one of the guys there showed me Whitechapel, and I was like, this is awesome. I think it was it might have been I know it was off the third record, A New Era of Corruption. I can't remember what song. But when I first heard it, I was like, the vocals kind of sound like Randy Blythe. So that helped me get into that. And then I looked up the lyrics. I'm like, these are really anti-religious. So I'm like, I'm probably going to hold off on this for a little while. I can handle anti-religious material now, but back then I was still kind of iffy about it, which introduced me to like Impending Doom. which are still one of my favorite bands. Except their new record was really, really mad. But that introduced me to deathcore, and eventually I matured out of deathcore into death metal. I started listening to, I learned of melodic death metal. I downloaded a couple of songs by Children of Bodom, which I really enjoyed, and then I learned of technical death metal because I downloaded some Necrophagist, and I was introduced to Meshuggah, but I didn't really get them at the time. The first time I ever listened to Meshuggah, I believe, was Bleed, and I was like, this is the same thing for 7 minutes. This is boring. But now I'm like, now I'm like, Bleed's awesome, bro. So I got into, it was a very slow burn for me, because it went from like, I had your standard Metallica, Black Sabbath tracks on my iPod, along with Slipknot and stuff like that. And then Through the Never came out with Metallica, and I really got into them. And they are unironically one of my favorite bands at this time. I love Metallica, and I will not apologize for liking even their lesser received albums, which we might talk about in the future. But eventually I got into like Cannibal Corpse, Necrophagist, and bands of that nature. And eventually I started doing vocals on my own. I started doing vocals of that style. I joined a local band called Into the Divine, and eventually that folded. And then I started a local band out of Indiana called Fleshbore. I did that for a number of years. I am no longer in that band, but they're still really cool. You should go check them out if you haven't listened to them. And that's just kind of where I'm at now. So I grew up a really tiny Christian boy, Christian country listening child, and now I'm a fat death metal consumer.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too, because even though we do have bands that we both like and we both share, like Lamb of God and some other, we definitely entered in different areas, and we have our own areas that we really like. Like, you definitely named off bands that I've never listened to, and which, I mean, is the point of this show, really. Let's be honest.
The whole idea is to try and show each other, and we're showing each other music, but even people that start listening to it, I want to show people music that hopefully they will enjoy as well. Oh, and I also forgot, I played tuba for a number of years, so I'm also trained in music as well. I played tuba for 6 years. You're right. I mentioned marching band. I apologize. I played tuba. So,
well, I mean, again, at least late. Now we know the instrument.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. I apologize. You can interrupt while I'm talking. I interrupted you many times. You're completely fine.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions about all that? I can specify.
No, actually I didn't, but I did want to point out, I feel bad, being like, I'm the prog guy. I really like prog. I also like mellow death and synth death, but
synth death? I've never heard of synth death.
Symphonic.
Simp.
Yep.
I'm into simp death. And that's just me listening. That's actually just being a fan of Ginger.
Yeah. Which I am a fan of. Anyways.
Ginger's cool.
Yeah. I've actually never listened to Necrophagist or Phagus.
Here's the thing. First of all, did you know that Necrophagist just literally is another way of saying Cannibal Corpse?
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give you Necrophagist in the future, but like, it's, especially nowadays with tech death, it's nothing special. Like, they're classic records, but you can listen to Archspire, you can listen to here's the thing, like, I like tech death, but like, I honestly can't name a lot of bands just off the top of my head.
All you gotta do is go to Canada.
Beyond Creation, Dying Fetus, guys like that. Gorguts. I forgot about Gorguts. I've never really listened to Gorguts, but yeah,
I haven't either. I really like to listen to Headbanger TV. on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
And they had an entire segment on Canadian technical death.
I might need to watch that video.
They have a lot of really good videos in that, vein, and it teaches you a lot.
Oh, I mean, it's the same guy that did a Headbanger's Journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he has like a crew of people, and they all like specialize in different things. Like he has one guy that does prog, and another guy that kind of does like underground thrash, black death kind of things. Which is funny because
I only review underground grunge bands from 1993, but only when they released in March.
Well, it's funny. His name's Blaine for the people that might know him. And I could be wrong about exactly what he does, but the one thing that threw me off, and I mean, he's the reason I got into like bands like Bell Witch. Like he freaking loved Mirror Reaper, and I was like, well, I guess I'll give this a shot. Never listened to it. I was at work one day. I had my MP3 player on me that the company would only let you have because it had no screen on it. Because
all right, well, that's information. A good loophole.
Yeah. And so I just had it going, and it passed by Malacology, and then I had never listened to that Malacology record, and it just kept going, and I was like, oh, this Malacology song's really freaking long. Like, I like it, but like, I think I've been listening to this to 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, this is Bell Witch. Oh, this is really good.
Oh, well, yeah. So I have also listened to Mirror Reaper upon your recommendation. It is really good. I want to listen to some of their other work, but yeah. So it's cool.
I'll suggest other things later on. I don't want to get into that. One other thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. To the point of like, I hate metal and long hair and tattoos and piercings. I think it's hilarious because as soon as I started getting into metal, I started growing my hair out. I got piercing. I wore fake piercings until to try to convince my parents to let me get real ones. Like that was going to work. Surprisingly, my cousin made like an offhanded comment to me. And my dad was like, well, you're not going to let her talk to you like that. And he let me get my ears pierced. And it's like, all right, cool. Yeah. Please insult me more, cousin.
Reverse psychology, man. See, I'm not really into piercings myself. I would love to get some tattoos, but I am Baroque. So.
I mean, that's the reason that I haven't finished getting my I still only have one tattoo, but I also do computer gaming, and I buy instruments and music production equipment. So, like, where am I going to get the extra money?
I feel that. Oh, that's an interesting little tidbit of information. What's your tattoo?
Oh, so my sister designed it. It's just a Ouroboros, and then it's got Yggdrasil with it, but it's got the roots of Yggdrasil wrapped around the Ouroboros, and then instead of wood, it's veins and arteries. It's got a sun in the middle that radiates out around the ring. A lot of people think it's a dream catcher for some reason. Ouroboros, inside of it, the design is a DNA double helix, and then the cool part, which you don't catch at all unless I point it out, unfortunately, is there's this thing that goes around it that looks like a cityscape, but it's just like a square wave file of the sound of the song The Way of All Flesh during the part where he's like, what does it mean to be dying? What if you take the guts and brains away? Is it this heartbeat that you call life?
And that is a Gojira song for people that don't know.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
And so, yeah, I wanted to get 2 sleeves. One is dedicated to music, which would be the one that doesn't have that on it. And then my other arm is supposed to be dedicated to like philosophy and nature. For those of you who don't know, I am a philosophy major with a focus in biomedical ethics, hopefully getting my master's at some point if I ever get off my ass.
Feel that. I should get you to write lyrics about biomechanical ethics for my next record.
I could do it because one of the things that I do like to talk about a lot is machine ethics, which isn't related, but also transhuman ethics, which is like cybernetic implants. And do you have the right to chop off your arm to get that cool robot arm?
I mean, that'd be cool. I'll definitely give you writing credits and stuff like that. No, I'll get you to write it and I'll say I did it.
You could also just listen to Scar Symmetry. They do a lot of that. And
I
it's
have
cool,
heard of
progressive.
them. I've never listened to them. So
anyway, actually,
go ahead.
Hold on, just because I mentioned it, I'm actually part of their second album. They did a call out to a bunch of their fans and just was like, "Hey, do you want to be part of the chorus to this one song? Record and send it to us." So if they ever release,
so you have a guest spot. So
yeah, if they ever release the album, though, they're still working on it, I guess.
How long has that been?
I recorded that back in like 2017, 2018.
Jesus.
So
well, interesting. So well, that was. Oh, and I guess I forgot to do my metal. Oh God.
Nice.
Help.
You're gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm all right. So I don't really have a favorite band. I have like a favorite. Yeah. I have favorite bands in certain genres. So like when it comes to death metal, Cattle Decapitation is my favorite band. But I think overall, especially when it comes to like stuff that people can listen to, I gotta be cliche and I gotta pick Metallica. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, I love Metallica. And even when it comes to a record that I think people should check out, I got to go with like Master of Puppets.
Okay. I was waiting for like the Lulu drop or something like that.
No, right. You know, I'm the jokester. I mean, I could legitimately say people should listen to Saint Anger. I think, especially I think people should give Saint Anger a second chance in modern eyes without like super high expectations. You know, think of this as just like, don't, you know, because here's the thing, people make fun of Saint Anger for like the quality, but like if it didn't have Metallica's name on it, I think people would dig it.
And I think that's a good point for a lot of bands, honestly. Like there are a lot of bands that are like, oh, they went this way instead of like, a lot of people don't like new Opeth because it's prog rock instead of the death metal that they did. But like if you take the Opeth label away, I think people that generally like prog rock but are upset about the Opeth thing would totally love it.
Yeah. All right. That was enough of us rambling about each other. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual podcast itself. I'm going to have to chop this down a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
It's all good. So when it comes to Distorted Entertainment, we want episodes to have a general sense of order that goes something a little bit like this. You know, we'll open up with Center of Gravity. We'll have our introductions, how we've been doing. We want to talk about news in the entertainment world, movies, games. We're excited about obviously music, if there any singles that have dropped, anything we want to talk about. From that we will go over to the main event, which is the album of the episode or that week or the bye week. We'll talk to and review those. After that we'll go over what we've been listening to, playing, or watching over the past couple of weeks. So like I've been listening to X, Y, and Z, been playing this new game. Give your thoughts about that, and then once we're done with that, we want to give each other the next episodes records to go over, so you'll always know what the next episode will be about a little bit. And then at the end of each episode, had an idea, and then we thought it was cool and important to give a spotlight to some lesser known bands. I mean, obviously it's episode 0 and 1. Nobody's gonna it's not going to be a huge boon, but we want to put a spotlight on our friends' bands, some smaller level musicians, and give them an opportunity and give other people an opportunity to listen to them. So, for example, to close out this particular episode, I think the only true way to do is to play Perceive Persist's Center of Gravity and it's full, an appreciation to them. And so we'll be doing that for hopefully every episode. I've already had some people message us about that, and I'm excited to showcase some bands that I am either friends with or just some cool new music. And also, when it comes to the albums we're picking, our main goal is to find stuff that we will like, or at least something that will be a good discussion topic. I can't imagine we're going to be trolling people. We're not going to troll each other constantly.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I can't, you know, as much as I enjoy poking fun and everything, I definitely want to give Ethan and other viewers a view into this, you know, music and maybe some lesser known bands and everything. I genuinely love this music and find it very expressive and beautiful and dynamic compared to a lot of other genres out there.
I think especially when you get out of the metalhead fandom, it's very... My cat, my dude, what are you doing?
I'm surprised my cat hasn't come and bothered me yet.
What are you doing? What was I saying? When you get out of the, you know, metalhead community, metal, and I guess it kind of goes to anything. You could say you can swap the genre out for hip hop or country for an example. You know, it's a lack of, I wouldn't say like respect, but even though some of that's there, it's a lack of understanding.
It's just an ignorance, really.
And I don't want to say that ignorance in like a bad way. I think everybody can be ignorant. It's just that's the idea. We want to show things that we think everybody will enjoy, but also I'm completely open to saying, you know, this album, let's just throw Saint Anger for an example. You know, this record is usually kind of berated and not given a decent spotlight. You know, why don't one of us give each other this particular record to check out? Maybe ideas will be different. Maybe it's something has aged well, or maybe it hasn't, and it might reinforce it, and that's completely fine. I think bands deserve chances, and like example, I don't like Black Veil Brides.
I mean, I
don't think they're a thing really anymore. I haven't heard of them in a long time, but I
actually think they re-released something recently.
Interesting. But for example, I was listening to the radio and a song came on of theirs, or an ad with it on there. I'm like, who is this? This actually, it sounded like Avenged Sevenfold. I'm like, well, this is way better than their old music. I don't necessarily want to listen to it, but I'm like, that's cool. Another great example. I listened to the new Bring Me the Horizon record, Ammo, and I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad. You know, just an example. I think everybody deserves that. But also, I wanted to also say that our choices are not necessarily going to always be metal. I certainly have a couple of different genres of things that I might throw Mitch's way. That also extends.
I got a couple as well.
Yeah, and that extends to the bands and music that we'll play at the end of each episode as well. I've had a couple of EDM artists hit me up, and I think episode 1 is going to be something that is not metal at all, but they're another friend's band of mine, and that will be that. So Distorted Entertainment, even though given the name and you know we are both big metalheads, it's not going to be completely metal centered all the time, because
I think we've shown that just through our backgrounds. Like, I mean, I'm classically trained violinist who did Irish folk music and a whole bunch of other stuff, and you were in marching band, and
I was raised on country,
and everything. I was raised on like blues.
Yeah, and I have a deep respect for like bluegrass and stuff like that. And it's not my favorite genres ever, but it's like I respect musicians, and I've grown to accept that. For example, like there's especially in the metal community, I say that metalheads can be the best and worst music fans of all time. You know, it's like EDM doesn't take any talent. I'm like, dude, you still gotta know how to like write. I can't. I've made some electronic music before. It is hard, you know.
Yeah,
so
I mean, same.
I think it is important to accept that, and we definitely don't want to be completely closed off and things of that nature. So that is going to nearly wrap up episode 0, which has gone way longer than I was expecting it to.
Have fun editing.
Which is completely fine. But to close out, I want to go ahead and introduce what episode 1, what the records of this episode is going to be. So for the album that Mitch gave me, there is a band out of the UK, and correct me if I pronounce this wrong, but I believe it is Slugdge.
I mean, that's how I've been pronouncing it, and that's for anyone that doesn't know, this was actually another recommendation I got from Headbanger TV.
I looked up that
TV.
video. I looked up that video just to be like, am I saying this right? Because in my opinion, I've said sludge, I've said slugdge, which is definitely not correct, but slugdge is hilarious. So Mitch gave me an album from English death metal band Slugdge. The album is called Esoteric Malacology. I believe I pronounced that right. So
that's correct.
Yes. And for Mitch...
Actually, before you go on, I do want to bring up one interesting thing about that album that maybe you might cover in the next episode, but I don't know if it was on this album or it's going to be on future albums or just live shows, but the drummer for
is the
Black
guy
Dahlia
from
murder.
Yes, that is for that record, I believe. It was either for that or they announced him as the drummer shortly after that. And
it was one of those two.
Exactly. And I love me some Black Dahlia murder. So
as do I. Anyways, cool. I received from the illustrious Ethan.
Yes.
I'm actually kind of ashamed. I never really listened to it.
Kind of a classic record.
Yeah. I should be embarrassed, honestly, to call myself a metalhead, but it's System of a Down's Toxicity. I have listened to System of a Down. I just never listened to a full album. So
cool.
That's basically what I got to deal with.
Exactly. So we're actually going to record episode 1 right after this. Both of these episodes, I mean, maybe depending how long this turns out after editing, but we were planning on having these drop at the exact same time. So yes, for episode 1, we're going to be going over the albums Esoteric Malacology by Slugdge and Toxicity by System of a Down. And we are going to leave you on this episode by playing in full Perceive Persists Center of Gravity. Thank you guys for listening to episode 0 of Distorted Entertainment. My name is Ethan Carpenter. I'm joined by my glorious friend Mitchell Wade. And if Adam from FedEx ever listens to this, I hate your face. See you next episode.
Have a good one, guys.